I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite
podcast
on the Citadel.
You are listening to Accidentally Casual, from nerds who game and podcast. My name is Minius of Minius GC, and with me is Tucker from Talking About Games.
Hello.
And back with us is Scott from BioWare Babbling.
Hi guys, apparently I am the avatar and I am meant to bring peace and balance to this podcast.
Don't even try. Don't even worry about it.
Don't even try? Okay, sweet.
Yeah, you're like, oh no, I have responsibilities. No, don't try. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. That makes me feel slightly better.
You notice we're a day early this time. We're going to go for this time from now on to try to get Scott on as much as possible to fit in with the schedule. So you're looking at Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. I have everything written down. I don't have it memorized. It sounds like I have the timetables down really well. It's 5 at night in the UK and 4 a.m. on the east coast of Australia the next day or the day before.
So you're a knowledgeable fellow of time zones and so on.
I just sound like I'm knowledgeable, but go ahead, ask your question.
So, does Mars have different time zones, or does Mars have one, time? What about other planets?
See, we've had this question before, and I don't have the answer for it.
We've talked about these ISS.
I assume that everything is on the UTC if it's not on Earth. Because the whole idea of time zones on Earth has to do with the way the sun is hitting the Earth.
So the moon and Mars and everything, they have one.
The fact that the sun hits the Earth in a particular angle has absolutely no impact on Mars.
I think also a big thing with Mars is why would you need a separate time zone, per se?
Well,
because the big thing is it's not like there's anything that is dependent on you needing to understand what time zone you're in when it comes to Mars. I think it's one of those things, once we actually colonize Mars and actually have to worry about things like that, then NASA will be like, okay, alright, let's get our shit together, let's figure out time zones on Mars.
Well, once there are people there, Mars does rotate, so there would be time zones if people get there. Right now, no one gives a shit.
And that's
there's
right. They will
robots.
Be there in time.
Maybe the robots care.
Well,
and they're like, dude, I don't know
rover.
what time it is. I don't know when the podcast's going to launch, and they just shut down.
Well, there's the Mars
disaster.
rover. Doesn't it sing happy birthday to itself?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
and also,
really sad.
Well, it's kind of adorable. It's like WALL-E.
I guess so.
And also, I don't know if you've ever seen picture, if you've seen pictures of the Mars rover by itself, you may think that it's small, but if you see it next to a person, the Mars rover is a lot bigger than what I thought it was. It's the size of an SUV.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's actually rather huge.
But when you just see pictures of it just by itself, you just you think it's you think it's small.
It's because we all had, actually, I don't know if does anyone still have those remote control cars? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, those are still a thing.
I had them as a kid. That's what you would just assume that they're all like that.
Yeah, but, a space one.
Well, it makes sense if all the scientific equipment you have to have on there.
Dude.
You would need that.
There's a commercial going on right now where there's this moon buggy that's tearing it up on the moon, and it literally has a disclaimer, do not attempt.
So, wait, does that...
And I was like, they take this huge jump off this crater, and it says, do not attempt. And I'm like, what?
So, does that technically mean, though, that Mars, that is technically, it's an inhabited planet with a robot? So...
it depends on, it's a remote control vehicle, right?
Yeah, it's not sentient. It's not like Ultron or HAL or anything.
I don't know where that... I'm pretty sure that doesn't extend to a being in any definition. It's just a remote control robot. If it was autonomous, then you start to get, it made all of its own decisions. Actually, I don't know enough about those things. Maybe they do make some... It has to at some point.
So the population of Mars is 1, or however many rovers they have there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know, it's kind of fun to think.
So if you want to go off and babble like this, we have a Discord community where people chat about weird stuff.
We do.
Link is in the comments section. We also have an email address that I continue to promote. It's accidentallycasual@gmail.com. Take questions, topic suggestions, and recommendations for the Mass Effect Obscure Character of the Week. And this is why we don't plan out the show, because this is what was going to happen anyway.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are like,
And there's
let's start with a specific topic. And Tucker's like, what's the time zone on Mars? And that was and then we go from there. We originally had a plan. We were going to talk about games that we were going to recommend. We're going to do that in the future. Tucker took it way too far.
Well, no, it wasn't games that we'd recommend. It was
not games,
pitching
that's right.
a
pitching
game.
a game. And
And you
well,
you're
first of
doing
all,
this with a game designer or someone who went
I'm
to college
aware
with
of
all
that.
this
So
stuff.
basically, every subject we come up with, I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing this with Tucker. This is going to go
extra.
wrong. This is the first time it really went wrong. Tucker printed
See,
out
that-
Tucker printed out 3D models to display while he's going in there, and like we don't have any way to do that at the moment.
Wrong is I would say is a misuse of that word. I would say it's a glorious idea.
I think it also blew our expectations completely out of the water.
Yeah, we like I had something different in mind, but that's usually how this goes. So we're gonna think of a way to bring that to you. And this week, there's actually been a fairly big news week, so we're gonna chat some news items and turn this around. By the way, Mass Effect 2 is 10 years old today.
Oh, holy!
Or
wait.
10 years old plus 1 tomorrow. There's your
So
first
11.
news item.
Although the show's coming out
10
tomorrow,
years
right?
old plus 1 day, sorry.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
10 years old plus 1 day tomorrow when this podcast launches.
Oh, holy shit!
So, I mean, this is actually the podcast. We record late in the night before the podcast comes out now, so we can keep up with the news, because I like chatting news. But it's been an interesting week, man. Very interesting week. So you guys each came up with something different on your own without doing this that you wanted to talk about as the most interesting thing in gaming.
Well, I mean,
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but just
Well, I was like, what do you want to talk about? And you all had something different.
okay, fair enough.
there's
Including me.
Microsoft
That's
essentially doubling their price of gold.
I am actually disappointed they went back on it before the
Wait,
podcast.
why
so
are you disappointed?
Because I wanted to ask you if Microsoft was doing it just to be cool, like you always say.
Oh no, I was really disappointed
I'm aware
in
of that,
Microsoft.
but you just say like, "Oh, Microsoft did this just to be cool." I'm like, no, you don't understand. They don't do that. It's a company.
Well, I mean, but that's what I was upset with them doubling up.
It's
the price of
interesting
gold.
how quickly they had to backtrack on that.
True, but at
Because
least
it's
Microsoft
rightfully
has
wrong.
always been good at backtracking, at least. So then when they know when they have fucked up, they go, oh shit, my bad, and they back up. It's not like Sony where it's like, if they make a mistake, they just go, we're Sony. We have your money. We don't give a fuck.
They wait till it financially damages them before they do something about it.
And then Nintendo just does whatever Nintendo does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be
Nintendo's over here making cardboard consoles, which I still love. It's still one of my favorite things.
That might be a little bit more of a cultural thing, too, because the top of those decisions in Sony, even though most of Sony's gaming stuff is being done in the West at the moment, is being done in Japan, and they do things differently.
Yeah.
So the quality of the games and it's very interesting. I'm not as knowledgeable in Japanese culture, and if you think you are and you're not Japanese, you're probably wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, but the timing of that
approved.
That timing of that raising the price, that was just shit. Like that's shit timing.
Well, I mean, what do you mean timing? Was there anything?
How many people are broke right now?
Well,
how many people out of work?
With everything. I thought you meant like specifically right now, like something was happening this week.
No,
I mean,
yes, there is
been
something
happening for about a year, but I mean, just like there are enough people who are out of work. I mean, like it happens.
That made no sense.
Basically, every week, one of my friends gets out of work, and I'm like,
and
shit,
at
dude.
the same time that we still can't get any of the new consoles or anything like that.
So that actually makes me curious to know, because we were talking about on the very first Research show, we talked about the console stuff, and Microsoft has this extremely good deal called Game Pass, which Tucker still
Yes.
isn't over, and it's one of the few things Tucker goes on and on about that's actually worth the value.
Actually, a thing with Game Pass, I just used it to download a game called Donut County, and I got all the achievements in it in a few hours.
But my question there is, they doesn't seem like they're making money off that. So is this a way to like try to make more money off of that?
No, I think
You
it
think?
is to push people to Game Pass, like because
Is that
you
the
get
idea?
gold in Game Pass.
Okay.
So I think they're trying to essentially
Force you to
stop
get Game
gold.
Pass
Yeah.
and just get, or force you to get Game Pass and stop gold. Was the price of Game Pass going up then too?
No, Game Pass was staying the same. That's another thing.
Didn't you
of
say
it is-
also
I-
Platinum?
so
Platinum
you gotta
stayed the
be-
same
I mean,
price
like,
as well.
Once there's only one system and one thing to go to, that's when they got you by the balls, and that's when that stuff could go.
I mean, through
the
that's
roof.
called a monopoly. It's not good.
Microsoft's pretty good at those monopolies.
Fair.
But Donut County is kind of like
See, Scott, this is why we don't have a segment like that.
You want okay?
it is a game where you play as a whole, and you like eat the trash and stuff on the ground, and it gets bigger and bigger, and you start sucking in like the entire town. It's kind of like Katamari Damacy, or even like the dog game that I've worked on that I bring up a few times. But this one was. There were raccoons overrunning Donut County, and they were bringing in these holes to suck up the trash. It's this whole wild story. It's ridiculous. But it's fun, and it was an easy 1,000 gamer score. It only took about 2 hours to do.
You know, I'm not cool with games that are like that. It kind of ruins the gamer score and trophy system to me.
Well, I mean, it's a requirement on Xbox to
I'm
that
aware
every
of
game
that.
has that.
Yeah, it's
And
just...
so when you have small indie games like that,
Mm-hmm.
I love the indie game market because it allows these unique ideas that would never really pass a publisher at EA or Ubisoft or something like that, because it's not a huge AAA budget game. That it's a small game idea, and
It changes
the
when
requirement
people-
is to have it.
When people pump up their gamer score, though, like usually the people who really go after that, they got all these little games in there, like that doesn't count. Whatever. That's. I mean, it's also not that important to me, so I don't know.
Yeah,
why
I
I'm
was about to say,
complaining
like,
about
I mean,
you're talking
I have-
about gamer score.
it's
on-
really a
yeah.
big deal to some people, and
I mean,
I think my gamer score is 180,000.
I don't
That
even
has-
know what mine
yeah,
is. So.
that doesn't register with me.
If you
because
have
I
1
do-
million
I do
gamer
trophies.
score, you get Xbox like Game Pass and stuff for life on your account. It just permanently gets it.
That's not going to last. All right, so Microsoft, are they going to... I mean, I'm assuming they're going to get no damage from that because they backtracked.
Probably.
Well, I mean, there's some community upsettiness, some upsetty spaghetti community
yeah,
members.
but
Well, I
that's
mean-
going to be forgotten in about, what, 6 months?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
it'll be
so
forgotten.
it will maybe be affecting... Maybe it'll affect Microsoft for the next 2 business quarters, and then after that...
I assume at this point, they're not making Xbox Ones anymore of any kind, right? So they're just
Yeah,
making
they-
their new
they've-
Xboxes, and they're selling out immediately. So it's you know...
They have
it's
enough
unlikely to
stock
affect anything.
of the Xbox One X and such that they are no longer making them. Aren't they still making the PS2? Or do
No,
they
no.
finally...
No,
They're making
stopped-
PS4s, but that's...
I was about to say, they stopped
Well, I mean,
making
wasn't-
PS2s several years ago, I think. I
I
remember
thought
that
it was more recent than that.
It went,
'cause I
it went
think
way
there's a-
longer than you would have expected, is what
There,
you're,
I mean,
what
there's
you're
a
thinking.
FIFA game, maybe FIFA 17 or 18 that came out on the PS2.
From what I understand, the PS2 had huge lives in like a shelf life in other countries
Yeah, I
believe
think
that.
South
Yeah.
America.
because it was a lot cheaper, and
Well,
you know it's
I mean-
not a bad console. It's
Well, I was about to say,
FIFA 14 was the
my-
last FIFA game.
when I'm
Obvious.
back home down in Boise, one of the things that me and my best friend will do, we'll get out our old PS2, and we have to, like, my cables for my that plug into the TV don't work, so I have to use his, but, you know, his actual PS2 doesn't work, so I have to use mine. Like, this whole thing, and we'll play Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original, for like hours on end. And so, I mean, yeah, it has a great shelf life for sure.
That is a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I've been replaying a game called Rise of Nations, which is also on Game Pass, but it is only on PC. It is an RTS that I played when I was a wee lad, and it's kind of like Civilization or any of those games where you start as cavemen and you research and you build your way up through all the ages. And I very much love and enjoyed it. And I saw that it was on Game Pass, so I've been playing a lot of that. Just for some nostalgia.
I can't play more than one type of one game at a time, and then I end up diving all the way into it.
Yeah.
So, because I get pretty stuck on control schemes.
What game do you play? Right now, what game are you playing?
So right now, I finally convinced my one group of friends to pick back up Monster Hunter World, so we're going to dive into that.
Okay.
Oh, that's like a 200-hour game or something.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I understand you can't do more than 2 hours in a game, Tucker, but it is a phenomenal game.
I've heard it's phenomenal.
I will say one thing. I am actually more... My gaming taste right now is actually more in line with Tucker's than Minius's at the moment. Mainly because I just probably 8 months ago got done with doing the entire playthrough of the entire Dragon Age series, which took me about 500 hours. And at that point, I was tired. Like, I am done with my commitment video game phase. I want to go to my video game hoe phase at the moment. And I want to try all the different games and have no commitment to any of them.
Well,
yeah,
Game Pass is a huge
all right, Tucker,
recommendation.
that's enough. Why don't you go triple your costs and shut up? Shut up.
Jesus.
Game Pass. I acknowledged it was good.
I think one of these days we might just have to get sponsored by Game Pass.
That is honestly my game plan.
To get sponsored.
You
by
just
Game
keep
Pass.
on
They
my
don't need
game
to do that.
plan.
People, I mean, they don't need to sponsor. You know why? Because you talk about it every 5 minutes anyway.
I know.
What's the point of paying you to do it when you just do it anyway?
Because to be nice, to be kind,
To be
like,
nice. Oh, because Microsoft's nice. I thought we just went into this. Went into the fact that they're a company. They don't do things just to be awesome, Tucker.
They are nice with their consumer-friendly.
Get out of here with that.
Hey, but let's not completely crush Tucker's dreams here. Let him.
Trust me, they've been crushed for years.
All right, Scott had a different piece of gaming news that he brought up.
So I actually have two pieces of gaming news that are Mass Effect related that I thought were interesting.
One of them's very big, and I'm wondering which you're going to go with.
I think I'm going to go with the smaller one that's not really that deep. So in an interview, oh god, I'm going to butcher this, Brian Kindergran, who is the writer for Mass Effect 2. It turns out that he was Jack was rumored, for a long time Jack was rumored that she was actually pan, or at least bisexual.
It wasn't rumored, that was the plan, right?
Well, yeah. Well, what I was going to say is, like, for years it was rumored that she was supposed to be that way, and if you look at a lot of her dialogue, it kind of hints towards that, but it never happens. Well, it's finally been confirmed that actually has been the case. That was the original plan, was to make Jack bisexual. Well, I think they identify her as pan, but the thing was, they were afraid to do... they canceled that because they were afraid of the repercussions of Fox News coming after them again, and for, including now bi romances or something like that.
I feel like the controversy, though, from Fox News improved the sales of the game. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's because that is kind of the thing that GTA paid news outlets to push a more controversial.
Is that a fact?
I believe so.
I don't know if that's a fact. If it is a fact, it worked. It's my favorite gaming story.
Well,
I didn't know about GTA 3. I was at my friend's house. His parents were watching the news, and some dude was beating the crap out of some lady with a baseball bat. I'm like, I want to do that. Of course, I was a shit little kid at the time, but I was like, I absolutely have to play that game.
I think
GTA paid for original game to receive negative press.
I will say one thing as well to maybe not defend BioWare, but more like to at least give it context. You have to remember this probably happened before Mass Effect 2 came out, so this is right after the controversies really started coming up with the original Mass Effect launch. And with GTA went kind of all aboard like, yeah, no, we are that bad boy fucking game where you can beat people with a baseball bat. Fuck yeah! BioWare probably wasn't trying to go for that same image, so that may have been why that they tried to backpedal on that so much.
Well, I mean, there was also a lot more other controversies like Manhunt and Hot Coffee and all that stuff. But
yeah, and
I mean, that's
video
still,
games are kind of
Hot
a
Coffee
go-to.
is still Rockstar.
Yeah.
Go-to blame when there's nothing going on. I don't
Is
think
Manhunt
that.
Rockstar?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was also Rockstar.
No,
I think Manhunt is rated A for adult only.
Mm-hmm.
I always find it interesting that based on stuff content in video games, content in really movies and television shows, like, you can flat out decapitate someone, but you can't say the F word, and you can't show boobs.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is more damaging?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, do you know what
from someone who has
some
an
of the
anthropology
worst...
degree, I do find that absolutely hilarious. Because it's just like, wait a minute,
you're just like, that's what you're not worried about people like just massacring people on television, but oh my god, there was a nip slip.
Well, I mean, do you know what the not original, but do you know what one of the worst gaming controversies was that almost completely shut down the gaming industry?
I mean,
well, E.T., wasn't it?
Well,
I mean,
E.T.
Tucker's going to come up with
sold absolutely awful, and that
was more of a trend though than
yeah. Well, that was the gaming industry was how old by that point?
Not very.
That was the 80s, I think.
Yeah, so it was still a growing industry. It's stuff like that.
Tucker, what did you have in mind?
Custer's Last Stand.
What?
Is an extremely controversial game that came out because part of I can't remember specifically the console. I want to say Atari and stuff because I feel like that's the go-to, but I also feel like that's incorrect. But some of the original generation of consoles, it was really easy. I mean, for people who knew how to do it, almost anyone could make something that could get played. Like, they could put it on a cartridge and play it. So there were games that came out like Custer's Last Stand.
What year was that? You have to look that up.
Yeah.
Was it known for its keen, realistic graphics?
No, it was. No. Well, it was because you rape someone in it.
In like an 8-pixel game?
No, it's
what the fuck?
You play as Custer, you dodge arrows, and you rape a Native American woman. Yeah, that game deserves to rot in hell for all I care.
The fuck kind of game is that?
That's what I'm meaning, and that is almost what brought down the gaming
It definitely
industry.
did not almost bring down the game. I'm tired of that stuff.
No, it did.
It's always going to come back.
Well, no. I mean, as in, like, people... Everything was shutting down. They were like, we can't have things like this. It was almost a crash in the gaming industry that it almost didn't recover from. And part of that, what did help recover that was Mario and
but that was the gaming industry was in trouble at that point anyway.
Yeah.
So you're putting something specific on that. Yeah, it's.
Well, I mean, it's not like a straw that broke the camel's back, more of like you cut off one of the camel's legs. So it was a big issue because
1982. There was a lot going on in 1982. So I think you're given. I understand that's really, really bad, but that's not.
I think it's one of those things as well. Maybe to remember is like back in the. Maybe a controversy like that wouldn't be as bad. I would hope it would be just because of the subject material. But more of the fact that because of how small the industry was back then, that was probably proportionally a much harder hit than something like that happening in the video game industry today. I mean, the video game industry, when entire nations are thinking about outlawing things like loot boxes, which is a lot of companies' main revenue source, they don't even bat an eye to that shit anymore.
This is a ridiculous game that I'm reading about.
What, Custer's Last Stand?
It's Custer's Revenge, I guess.
Yeah,
is the official name of it. I did not know this game existed. This is why that people don't let you just put anything on their console. And that was Atari's problem though at the time. They just threw everything out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of a larger trend. Is they literally threw poop into their console and then sold it to you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Literally is not the right word, but almost.
And
that's very, very close.
There's another game that was similar to it, or it was built entirely on controversy, and it's called Hatred. And it was a game where you quite literally are a person that just goes out and kills civilians. That is the entire point of it, is just to kill people.
So it's like Manhunt GTA?
And...
Well, it's not like
Manhunt,
like
you are killing bad people in it, right? Like you're going after.
Everyone's bad.
Well, no. Like I think you're going after more specific people of it.
I'm gonna push this back. I'm gonna push this back on track.
I think in Hatred, you just like it was meant to create controversy, and it was put on Steam. But
I mean, in all fairness, I mean, you can point out the video game stuff because they're new. This is absolutely nothing new in human society. I mean,
the guy that helped
lead
from my understanding, the guy that helped lead the game is a neo-Nazi. The development of the game, it was some. There's some games out there.
Okay, you guys are both. The biggest news is the Knights of the Old Republic leak. Tucker,
yes.
Do you know what Knights of the Old Republic is yet?
I've heard of it now.
Okay.
You're welcome.
You know what? Someone posted in the comment section. I didn't pick up on this because I was so shocked. But you were going on and on about how games influence Mass Effect and didn't know Knights of the Old Republic.
No, and I was also commenting on a few of them, and they're fair too.
About that, and I was like, oh my god, that's worse than I thought it was.
No, and that's fair too. What it is like when I was younger, because I didn't have my own video game console or anything like that. My mom highly suspected that video games would lead the devil into my life,
and it did. So she was right.
Oh, I mean, I'm out here in Seattle now, so who knows? The show, a lot of my game experience was downloading demos on the computer because that was the extent that I was allowed to, which is part of the reason why I loved RuneScape so much, because that was an online-based game.
Yeah.
But I downloaded a bunch of Star Wars games, a bunch of demos, and I played through a lot of them. I cannot remember the names of them. I can't help distinguish some of them. All of them have blended in with each other so much.
So I believe, in fairness to you, Knights of the Old Republic came out when you were about 10 or less.
I was born in 1994.
Yeah, so you were 9. Well, that's old enough to know, but still.
Yeah. I mean,
when did you first become... I mean, what was your first Star Wars experience? Do you remember?
I mean, watching the movies.
When,
I think it was watching... I think my first one was watching Phantom Menace.
Ooh, that's unfortunate.
I got in with that. And I enjoyed Jar Jar Binks, and I still kind of do. I enjoy the effort that was put in with it. I recognize he's an awful person. Well, I recognize what he was meant for and stuff like that.
He was meant for you, and it worked, apparently.
Well, I mean, yeah. He was meant to sell toys and stuff like that, but he was also meant to kind of be a bit jokey.
Yeah.
And so on. I get what they were getting at with it, and I understand they didn't execute it well, but I like it. And I also feel bad because the actor who played Jar Jar, dude has death threats and so much sent at him.
That's
same
some
thing
of the
with
weirdest shit.
I feel so bad.
I don't understand that at all.
I mean, he quit acting. And so did
Hayden Christensen, the actor who played Anakin. It was the exact same thing with him. He actually went into farming for, I think 4 or 5 years just to avoid it. And now, one thing
he was also in Jumper.
Yeah.
Which
the one thing
is-
that's been nice that now that a lot of that toxicity has gone away, and now they're almost almost are being a little bit more nostalgic about it. So the actor who played Jar Jar, he's actually doing a Star Wars kids show, and I can't remember what it is, but he's actually been doing that, and he's been doing that for about a year and a half. And they are bringing
I
Hayden
thought he
Christensen.
quit acting.
No, mind you, this development is like a year and a half old. He's actually now doing like a children's TV show, like a Star Wars children's TV show. And on top of that, Hayden Christensen, I think it's been confirmed that he is going to be in the Obi-Wan Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
So
As Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm. So I think
awesome.
Yeah. So I think I think that it's gotten to a point now that the community is like giving them enough positivity back and kind of enough support, and a lot of that toxicity is gone, that they're able to actually return to the franchises that made them famous, but also in some regards infamous.
I also want to give a little note of there is a subreddit called Prequel Memes, and it has like 1 million something people on it. They absolutely love Ian McGregor and Hayden Christensen, and it's exciting because all the memes that they post are excitement for the upcoming show and all that stuff. But
Knights of the Old Republic,
Anakin.
Yes,
is a game that Tucker didn't know about until last week.
I knew of it.
Shut up, Tucker! You can't defend yourself anymore.
We have video evidence.
This is a rumor that's got enough legs that it's
wrong.
worth paying attention to, because sometimes you get rumors out there and you're like, this is total crap. But apparently, I've heard it as a reimagining of the game. And the most interesting news about it is it's not being done by BioWare, which makes sense, or even EA, which
it's not done by EA, and it's not done by Ubisoft either.
So someone, I don't understand exactly how that works.
I have a hard time with this.
That killed a lot of. I'm like, when I heard it was going to be a reimagining by some other random studio, I'm like, why don't you just make a different Star Wars game?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of it in a positive way because optimism. Look at it like the Modern Warfare series.
Maybe
the first Modern Warfare 2004 was phenomenal. And the 2019 Modern Warfare that came out was also in a fantastic game.
Produced by the same company.
Okay, this is something that I actually have a lot of problems with. Not necessarily, another company doing this. This proposes a lot more questions than it does actual answers. So first and foremost, I never thought it was generally a good idea for them to try to make a new Old Republic game, because the Old Republic, so Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic games have been in a weird gray area when it comes to like the Star Wars canon, because it's supposed to be anything that after the Disney acquisition, everything after that point is supposed to be canon. Well, BioWare has made content of KotOR ever since that point. They're still actually releasing new content to this day. So the question is that canon or not? Where does that fall under? Who also owns does Lucasfilm owns the rights to that? Or is it more of an EA or BioWare thing? So
someone has the actual answers to that, and they're a lawyer.
Oh, and, you would. No, not a lawyer. There are minimum.
They are the lawyer.
Oh no, there are. Disney has to and that's also another issue. Is that whatever? So you would have to deal with Disney's lawyers, EA's lawyers. You would have to deal with BioWare's own lawyers, and then you need to have whatever game company who is making it, whoever the fuck it is. You gotta that sounds like such a legal nightmare. that I honestly question isn't actually worth financially doing and like transferring that all over.
So I only know stuff by rumors, but I think that there's at some point EA had the rights to the Old Republic, like part of Star Wars, and they lost it officially.
Well, Disney may have taken it away from them.
That's probably what happened.
Well, I'm wondering
Well,
what...
I mean, Disney owns the rights to Star Wars, so that is what...
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they can make a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game without Disney's permission.
Well,
so
the one thing though that also kind of brings it up. One of the things that Star Wars has really done, and mainly the story group, which is in charge of the story for Star Wars, one of the things that they have been avoiding has been dealing with eras of the Star Wars canon that has been already done, if that makes sense. So that's why I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but the newest thing that Star Wars has been pushing out is something called the High Republic series, which is supposed to take place 200 years before the Phantom Menace. The reason why they did that is because in what is now considered, it's called Legends today, but others have called it the Extended Universe, they never covered that time period. They've, like, the closest, story that covered that was the Darth Bane trilogies, but that happened like 1,000 years before the Phantom Menace. So it was a time period where, there is no legends to not contradict it, but to create expectations on. And that's one of my biggest questions why they would do that with the Old Republic is there was a lot of people who love and are attached to the Old Republic games. So why would they want to hash over it all over again?
Because it's got brand recognition.
I mean,
100% the only reason.
Star Wars has brand recognition.
I understand that, but
what?
if there's like going to be 50 Star Wars games at once, man. I mean, that's where we're heading. So now you need an additional brand label.
I think it might
like
take
Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Number 4 Black Ops.
Well, and especially...
I'm just saying, like, the additional old Knights of the Old Republic has enough cachet that it'll get attention where otherwise it would not.
Well, I mean, Star Wars has that brand recognition.
Well, I'm just saying, but there's how many Star Wars games going to be out at that time?
Yeah, that's
true.
So
you need to stand out from that.
Yeah, well, and especially now that the contract between EA and Disney is up, and now other companies can make Star Wars games, which...
Yeah, Ubisoft's coming in with their open world.
Which, personally, that's how I understand why they initially went with EA, because they had BioWare, they were big enough studios that they can keep it all in-house.
No, that's not why.
What? I mean...
Hold on, there's one word that can describe it. Can you think of the one word? Tucker got it! It's money! Congratulations, Tucker!
Money.
It's called money! That's the only reason.
Well, here's the problem, though. EA, didn't like that deal in the first place, and it didn't really make them that much money.
Well, they sucked with it.
I mean, that's also true.
No, just be honest. I mean, like really, the number of good Star Wars games, I suppose that they fix them, but it's
Jedi Fallen Order. That's about it.
But that's a much more recent one, and they dropped the ball with Battlefront.
They had some big stuff, and they.
Oh no, I'm not saying. No, I'm saying.
There's a reason they didn't make money, and it's all their fault.
Absolutely. But they were also, EA was never excited for the deal in the first place. So...
That doesn't make sense to me.
How could you not be excited for Star Wars?
Why would you do the deal in the first place if you're not excited for it?
That's a very good question. I have no...
Because that would make a lot of money.
I assume I guarantee there were factions in there that like, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
We overpaid for this. So, but someone was excited, and someone who was in charge was excited.
Yeah. For me, it makes a lot more sense to give it out to other companies, just so then it's not one publisher isn't given the entire load to make all the different Star Wars games. I mean, that's what they did.
At this point, is there going to be a saturation point for Star Wars where even the diehards are like, I don't want any more of this?
Well...
I'm already hit my saturation point for Star Wars.
I think...
I'm not excited for stuff anymore like I used to be.
I don't think there is going to be, because what I think they're trying to do is they're trying to diversify a lot more. So, if you can... I think what they're more trying to do is, if you want to get excited for just the comics, sweet, we have that for you. If you want to be excited for just the books, that's fine. But I think the big thing is that they're not trying to make them they're not mandatory stories. They're like, if you want to dive more into this, go on ahead. Like, would I call myself a diehard Star Wars fan? Absolutely. But I haven't read all the books and comics. The only Star Wars comics I own are ones related to my channel. All the Old Republic comics. But that's for a very specific reason. So, I don't think there's ever going to be an oversaturation level, because I think consumers are going to dive in however deep they want to go. So, if, maybe we're not too excited for the movies, but oh, fuck yeah, The Mandalorian? Yeah, let's go for that. Or things like that. I think...
So, I like
how we're getting to a point where the community is saying like the
there has
newer
to be a
trilogy isn't canon.
There has to be a saturation level somewhere. I mean, there is with everything.
True, but I think that one of the biggest things with Star Wars is...
Where that is, though, is the question, though. You're saying that it's spread out enough that it's not going to hit that.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to cater for such a wide audience that... there is not one specific fan that they're trying to cater to. If I think there would be oversaturation, for good example, when Disney I want to say it was like 4 or 5 months ago when they released their lineup of TV shows. When the Book of Boba Fett, the Cassian Andor, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Bad Batch, I'm
excited for Bad Batch and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and there's like 2, 3, or 4 other shows, which is a lot. But you also have to remember, they're not releasing them all at once. They're going to go, okay, we're going to do a season of Boba Fett, wait a few months, do another season of Mandalorian at the same time. Then we're going, maybe at the same time, do, the Bad Batch at the same time. But that meant, the Bad Batch is meant to serve a different audience than, like, The Mandalorian is. So
yeah, that's
I guess
something that people kind of miss, or they kind of forget that Star Wars is such a large thing at this point.
Oh yeah,
that you can have movies, TV shows, all comics, all these different types of things come out and not have an oversaturation because you're hitting all these different markets. Same thing goes with the MCU. People are saying, superhero movie, like, we're going to get tired of them.
The MCU is going to be very interesting depending on the quality of all the series they come out with. I think I'd be slightly worried about that
they're
going
all
forward.
Different.
I'm aware of that, but
WandaVision
at some point, like, I'm curious to see where it goes.
Me too. And
WandaVision is a sitcom kind of base where it is between Wanda and Vision, based around kind of family sitcoms, while the Spider-Man movies kind of feel like teen rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
And the What If series is going to be an animated thing like that. It's the Captain America Winter Soldier feels like a spy thriller, and that's what Black Widow and Bucky and Winter Soldier are going to feel like. So they all fit different
niches.
Themes for different people. So there's not a feeling of there's so many superhero movies, because these are now movies and TV shows that happen to have superheroes in them, because The Boys is also something successful.
That's the way Marvel's been successful, as opposed to the old DC formula. They've changed it up a little bit.
And the thing is, though, that works.
Like, such a shit show.
The Dark Knight trilogy was great, absolutely was phenomenal, but people want something different now with that, and DC is still trying to make superhero.
So, this is a rumor, but at some point, the executives at DC, at Warner Brothers, really, they had a literal formula, and any superhero movie had to fit exactly in with that formula, and that's why all those movies feel weird.
Are y'all excited for the Snyder cut of
No.
Justice League?
I mean,
I am.
I'll probably
No.
watch it. Well, you're
I am.
excited for everything, so
Well,
let's.
the trailer for it used the song Hallelujah, and I'm a sucker for
wow,
that just
that
because
did it for you.
I love trailers. And
That's fine,
that
but
one
okay.
was so perfectly well done. And it's the same thing from Watchmen. Absolutely love that movie. And he uses the song in that. Very different scene where that gets used compared to the trailer. But it's just, it looks great. The Justice League movie was so bad. It was just awful. And this one looks like
I felt bad for
everything that was
almost
kind of
everyone involved in
built
that movie.
up.
Yeah.
Everything is now makes sense.
Has there
with
has
it,
there
it
been
looks
a
like.
movie in the last like 20 years that has had that much go wrong with it? Where
Wonder Woman 1984?
no, there's no comparison, right? In all fairness, I haven't seen
What
that.
are you meaning though? In
Oh,
what way?
it's,
In what-
Well, it
It's-
started off the universe wasn't going too well. Zack Snyder was directing it. His daughter died
Yeah.
and had to leave, and they replaced it with
With Joss Whedon.
with Josh Whedon, who was a completely different type of director,
Mhm.
and
Let's see,
tried to
there's-
remake half the movie, and the tone didn't work, and it was already in a weird spot already.
Yeah.
And then there's the additional, I don't know, controversy with how he treated actors.
there's the dark.
I mean, there's just like
movie
it was.
universe that was like the Mummy.
But does
with,
anyone give a shit about those?
Well, that's the thing is the Mummy was so bad that immediately canceled all plans for this
Yeah.
extended universe they were going to have.
Well, I mean,
where
that
they're
was
not superheroes, but it would have been akin to the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
yeah, that was an idea that they're like, okay, go ahead and try that. I don't think it's going to work in the first place, and yeah,
Which, fun fact, with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the movie, it was one of Sean Connery's last movies. It was so bad, it made him quit acting.
No, I'm
that
just
sounds like a
sad.
rumor. He was also ridiculously old.
No, I mean, I think he said, I mean, he passed away and all
So,
that stuff
like,
now, but
my
No,
hockey
I'm
coach
sad thinking
was
about
really into the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comic, and that movie gutted him. I remember that. I was like, oh man.
I thought it was fun, but I was a kid when
but
I watched
yeah,
it, so
it's-
I have like a nostalgic feeling for
So,
it.
by the way, this particular conversation started with Knights of the Old Republic. This is why we don't have topics.
And we're talking
on the
about
show.
the man, the legend,
Minius,
Sean
you
Connery.
win. I get your point now.
So anyway, to kind of curve that back before we get back on sort of track. So there's two things I have an issue with this Knights of the Old Republic rumor. The first one is this where they talk about a reimagining of Knights of the Old Republic. That word specifically has me super worried.
yeah, that's a
Like,
little.
do you want that? I don't want it reimagined. I mean, it is what it is. It's got the core of. I mean, it's basically the core of Mass Effect.
yeah,
Where you have a ship and you go around, and you want to reimagine like that.
Well,
allows a lot of leeway.
I think
Could they be meaning reimagining it as in changing some aspects
they
of
could
it
mean
to
anything.
match
Yeah.
updated lore?
It's crazy
My-
vague.
my best guess on what they're trying to do, and mind you, this is really big speculation here. My best
That's all we
guess,
got.
Yeah, fair enough. My best guess, what they're trying to do is with. I think they're going to do somewhat similar to what they did with Thrawn's character. Mind you, Thrawn in the new canon is written by the same person who wrote him in the Legends material. Timothy Zahn. Same person. The one thing I'm guessing is what they're going to do is try to keep the core and the spirit of it alive, but at the same time try to fit it into canon as much as possible.
Yeah,
I
that was
think
my.
with-
I don't like the
Because everything
wording
from
of
this
it.
point is canon.
If they said remake to fit the lore, I'd be like, okay, that's what I was expecting. Reimagining. I've heard that term used before, and you're like, oh my god, why did they reimagine it that way?
Yeah.
I wish they didn't use that reimagination they had.
Mhm.
So it's really just the terminology, and like I said, we're all speculating. We don't know anything. The second thing that has me worried is this Eurogamer article. This title is, quote, The source says we'll never guess what studio is developing a new Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game. No,
Jason Schreier said that, right?
That's not good at all. What do you mean? Like it's an
Wow.
unexpected studio? Is it? I mean, if it's a new one, I guess that's something. But if they're like, you know what, man.
I mean, it's not EA, it's not Ubisoft.
I'm aware of that,
So
but I'm just
it's-
thinking of like, there's got to be some studios out there that you're like, that studio should not be doing that.
The only thing I can think of why they would maybe say that is with Lucasfilm games coming out now, I'm wondering if this is their maybe
So,
like
Hold
their
on,
first game, but
I'll stop you with Lucasfilm's game. I thought that was just a brand. Are they actually going to have oversight?
I'm not 100% certain.
I just assume they're like they wanted that brand on every single game, but I'm assuming there has to be like one or two people in charge. But I figured they weren't gonna be that involved.
maybe,
All speculation.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% certain. It might be something where they work with the development studios and go from there and have it where like, okay, we have an idea. This is what we want to do, and then they'll do the pre-development of it, and then they'll give it to a game studio to develop it. Tucker, I don't know if you have ever heard of a company that does this, but that might be what they're doing, but... Ugh.
Of what? Contracting another company to work on a game?
I assume
no.
they would just have to approve any idea, and that's to keep it all.
Not necessarily that, but more of like, have one company do the pre-development, and then for the production end of it, they send it off to another company. I mean,
That might
you-
be
I mean,
that might
there
be
have
more
been
involved
games
than I'm
that-
expecting, but we of course
there
we
have
don't
been
know.
games that have shifted development or shifted company development, but it's usually not for good reasons.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
And
I don't know. I'm spitballing at this point.
So there's
I got
that.
no idea.
There is a third reason, but it's not a good one that I'm worried about this game. I wanted a Knights of the Even Older Republic game to come out, even if it was just like a
so
demo.
Knights of the Elderly Republic?
No, literally called Knights of the Even Older Republic. I would have played the shit out of that game.
The even older Republic.
Because
That
that's
sounds like,
like,
that
it's
sounds
like-
like a Monty Python skit.
exactly like we're out of ideas. So Knights of the Even Older Republic.
I like.
I would play
Knights,
the shit out of that.
I like with
play the shit
Knights
out
of
of
the
that
Elderly
game.
Republic, you can have it take place in a retirement home.
They just like they like throw their walkers at each other with the force.
Yes.
Is that sounds like a good skit.
No, the walkers are lightsabers. They like.
How do you stand on them then?
All four of them? No,
No.
they don't. Like Yoda. They
then-
like
then-
pick them up. Like yeah.
Then they're not walkers.
No, I'm imagining. No, it's 18. No, they're 18. They're like the 18, or they're modeled like the ATST.
AT-ATs.
No, not the AT-ATs, the ATSTs. And then when they throw them at each other, they have little lightsabers at the feet that deploy when they get thrown.
I don't think
like
that
this.
much detail needs to go into this skit.
I worked at a retirement home for 5 years. So
Did
there's-
anyone throw their walker at someone? Is that even
Oh,
are they
dude,
even
I-
possible? Is that even capable of throwing a walker
I mean,
if you need one?
They are light, and I've had residents throw things at each other. I had one resident throw poop at people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sounds about
I mean,
right.
see, when your faculties go, like, I mean, you get some base shit going on.
Yeah.
One of my favorite video clips, and I'm this is not perfect for the show because I can't show it and can't find it, was a fight at a retirement home, where literally everyone fell down and couldn't connect a punch.
Cool. Oh man, do you want a heartbreaking
the guy
story?
winds up and throws upon and he misses, so the guy tries to hit him when he's down and misses and falls over, and then the guy who tries to break it up falls over. I mean, it's just like, you know, like you guys are too old to be brawling, man. I don't do that.
Do you want a heartbreaking story?
No.
So there was.
Didn't we just say no?
What other news do you guys want to chat about?
The only
So Playdead
other...
has a new game coming out
Oh yeah, right.
that they made Limbo and Inside. I believe that's the only games they have made.
Yeah, I believe so.
But they the only thing about this game is that they said that it takes place in a corner of a universe, or in a corner of the universe.
So that could
something like that.
That could be anywhere.
So it is a sci-fi open world game. And my guess is it's going to be kind of heavily narrative driven, the way that Inside and Limbo are.
Mm-hmm.
But Limbo is a game that every gamer knows what Limbo is. If they've played it or not, it's different, but everyone knows what that game is. Yeah. I prefer Inside much more because I'm a sucker for that 1984 dystopian atmosphere that game gives.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good. Inside is a game I just highly, highly recommend. It is one of those games where there's almost no dialogue at all, and it tells such a fantastic narrative, and as a short puzzle game and short platform.
How is that going to work in an open world game then?
I mean,
that doesn't sound like it's going to work at all. When you said, I'm like, really? Open world?
Well, I didn't play it, but from my understanding, Death Stranding was like an open world kind of puzzle game.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I mean, I never played it, and
they're just the feel of them are
much.
Like, I'm having a hard time picturing that. That's all. But that's good. Then
to be fair, if I were to give you a pitch of Inside and Limbo, those games would be really hard to picture too.
Yes, that is correct.
Well, those are
although they're heavily ambience.
They're.
Yeah,
well, those are specifically called cinematic platform games.
Yeah,
they're games like Prince of Persia or Deadlight or other things like that are just platformers that are using fluid and lifelike movements.
Mm-hmm.
So they may use that sort of play style with an open world third person kind of camera. It may have some form of narrative. And the fact that they said it takes place in the corner of the universe. So we're doing some sort of alien thing, some sort of sci-fi futuristic thing. So you might like it, Minius.
Yeah, that's true. No, he's 100% right. I might like it. We went into a game and Tucker's I was like, I don't really like games. Like isn't the right word. I'm not as interested in games that have contemporary settings.
Talking about Hitman 3.
And I was like, and you're like, it's just a contemporary setting. So I looked at my games library. Basically, everything is sci-fi fantasy, or back in history.
Yeah, I
almost every single game, and I'm like, I need to pull up my PlayStation library and see what that's like. Hold on, maybe I can do that.
There's a sci-fi game that I've been poking around, kind of looking at a little bit. Does the simple fact that it is in the sci-fi setting?
No, it needs more than that.
Because this is a game called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And it is
that sounds like an awful conundrum.
It is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi game where you play as these 5 last humans, and there's this evil AI called Am, who it is AM, and it changes throughout the game what the acronym means, but it's Am, more of the I think, therefore I am. And it is all these torturous things that happen to these characters in the sci-fi world that this AI makes them go through after the way that they torture and created this AI. And at the very end of this game, the narrator who helps the humans die as a way to escape Am the narrator kills them. The narrator gets turned into this monstrous creature that has no mouth, with the thing of that, essentially changing his perception of time so that eons, or what feels like eons, happen in a mere matter of seconds. and it's in this entire sci-fi kind of realm of what happens to him.
So this might be a topic for you to go. I'm looking at my game library for PlayStation. Maybe 3 out of a couple hundred are contemporary.
I mean, I think this is just one of those things you gotta type, Minius. It might be as simple as that. You just gotta type.
So there's an Indiana Jones game
that's
coming
fine.
out. Would you play that? Or
so I was very like one of the contemporary type games I have on there is the Uncharted series. So that was heavily I can say this with the fact that was heavily influenced by Indiana Jones.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Is that correct?
Tomb Raider.
I'm not talking out of my ass.
And Tomb Raider.
Yes. Also, I assume Tomb Raider.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can even go off tangentially of like, oh, Uncharted was influenced by Tomb Raider, Indiana Jones. I mean, that's
Zelda.
that's not too much of a connection to make. And so.
No.
Also, looking at this, the Everspace 2 early access is supposed to be an awesome game. I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
Space shooter. Not ready yet, though, so I won't play it yet.
So, but what about James Bond? Would you play any of those games? Because you said no with Hitman, but what about
the
James Bond?
The last James Bond game I played was literally on N64.
Because there's a new one coming out.
Yes.
IO Interactive, the company that makes the Hitman series, are making a James Bond game. And I'm playing Hitman 3, and it's the first time I've played the Hitman series in a long time. I played some of the original ones, like Blood Money and such, but I kind of fell off with it. And so getting Hitman 3 that has Hitman 1 and 2 in it, so I've been playing kind of all 3 of those, the rebooted franchise, and been absolutely enjoying it. So excited for that James Bond game. See what they come out with.
I think it's more than just me as far as sci-fi fantasy in games. Because when it comes to contemporary stuff, I'm like, okay, I'll watch a television show or a movie, and I'd rather experience that way.
Oh, sure. I'm sure that there's people that enjoy that. I just haven't really seen or heard people dislike something because
I don't dislike it. It just doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
I
can understand
if they're like you can play one of these 5 games, and one of them, I mean, like, I'll never go with the contemporary game, almost never.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't. I don't dislike it like zombies or something, but yeah, I'm looking at like lists of most contemporary upcoming game. Almost none of them are modern. They all have a sci-fi or fantasy twist if they are modern.
Yeah.
What about Sims?
Like the game The Sims?
Sure, or SimCity, or
I liked SimCity as a kid, but I haven't played that in a while.
But would you count that? I mean, that is very obviously a modern game.
That's correct, although from what I remember, it starts like 100 years before and goes past the present. What is the most recent SimCity game that came out?
I think it was just called SimCity, and it did poorly, and that is what brought Cities Skylines out, which is phenomenal. And EA, I don't think they've fixed some things with SimCity, but I don't think another SimCity game has come out past that.
Okay.
The Sims, they continue stuff with that, and Sims 4 has, I think, 200 DLCs.
I was about to say, I don't think they're going more the route of, instead of making multiple Sims games, I think they're just like SimCity, Sims, and then we're just gonna keep on creating DLC until time immemorial.
Yeah. There's like Sims for university and Sims for pets and all that different kind of stuff, and that makes sense. It that fits that
kind of
genre.
I'm looking at this though, and the percent. It's not just me. The percentages of games that are out. It's very highly sci-fi fantasy.
I feel like it goes in waves.
I bet
sci-fi fantasy,
you're right.
And then there's Knights. That's another popular thing.
I mean,
Knights and medieval.
Usually that has a fantasy aspect to it.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah, well, fantasy, I mean, yes, but sci-fi is scientific fantasy. There's a difference of...
Scientific fiction.
fiction. Well,
It's different.
Yeah.
There is scientific
Yeah.
fantasy. It usually involves a female robot.
Jesus.
interesting.
I've never had that one before, but I'm sure someone has.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But like, there's a time where the gaming industry and so on went through a medieval phase, especially when Game of Thrones was coming out around. Like, there was Dishonored and the Chivalry. I think is that
Yeah,
the
Chivalry.
game that was the.
I think Shovel Knight came out a few years before both of those, I believe.
Then there was. I don't know if it would count, but For Honor.
Yeah. I think
That one is more of a. I don't know if that one would count.
that
but-
one's almost kind of like the Assassin's Creed series, where it's like, could you count the science, or could you count like Assassin's Creed as science fiction? Yeah, but that's not the main reason why people come to play it.
Yeah.
For Honor would be more. It could definitely has some fantasy aspects to it, but people are there for the realism,
The mechanics.
yeah,
Of it.
yeah, the mechanics
Gameplay.
and the more medieval aspect of it,
Isn't For Honor like Vikings battling samurai?
and knights. Yep.
And
And-
Knights.
So how is that historical in any way?
Well, it doesn't
Oh,
need
no.
to be
Oh, yeah.
historically accurate.
Oh yeah,
It just
like,
needs to have like a theme of it, like Dishonored.
yeah,
Dishonored Dishonored is steampunk.
Dishonored
which
also
is,
doesn't
like,
take place on Earth, right? Or it takes
No,
place
I
on a distant
I think it does.
Earth, like maybe it's an alternate Earth, which would
Yeah.
qualify
Yeah, I think-
qualify as the type of game I'm interested in.
Yeah, I think it's like
You're talking
Earth.
like specific,
It's
like
just-
I'm talking specifically contemporary, really last. Like you asked me if I would be interested in a World War II game, and the answer is not really, because I'd rather watch actual World War II stuff.
But there's
Like
World War II
listen to
games
people
of
talking
every
about World War
type
II.
of genre.
I'm aware of that, but I'm just saying, like, okay, get into even World War One. They're like, I was thinking, like, oh, that'd be interesting. There aren't a lot of World War One games, and there were some. And I'm like, no, I'd rather watch documentaries on that and stuff.
yeah.
But what about like
I-
a World War II RTS or a war
Yeah,
game strategy?
not really.
Or-
The only RTS that I would love to play in World War II, and there may be something out there like that, is a naval combat World War II style game with aircraft
buddy.
carriers.
Ooh, yeah.
I haven't seen that, and I haven't looked hard for it,
The-
so it might be out there. I
the
was like,
only
There
thing
are
that
simulators
looks awesome.
like War Thunder.
Yeah, I was about to say.
yeah, that's
War
not
Thunder-
quite the same though. I mean, like the
Yeah.
concept behind old school aircraft carrier combat is fascinating. It
Oh,
would
yeah.
make a really good art. Like that one, I would have to play, but the other, I mean, it had to be pretty specific.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally get where you're going there, though. Damn it! No, I really want to play like.
There
a
was-
game
Does,
like
isn't-
there
doesn't
was
that
one
sound like a good
game-
idea? That's not even my pitch, but I was like, that sounds like a really good game.
Then I
There-
might have to throw. I might have to change my pitch for next week.
Well, we don't know if that's
computer-
coming next week.
Well, okay. When the pitch episode comes out, I might have to tweak a few things just for you, Minius. Just for you.
I mean, no, you make the kind of game that you want.
I know that.
Um,
I know. But it just.
So,
There
let's
was-
see. We've been going.
Wait, there's this one game I spent way too much time in, and it was this
Well, how
small
much?
game on Steam.
Hold on. How much is too much time for you?
Well, as in the game is not of highest quality.
Okay.
But I absolutely
I can see-
love.
Scott, can you
this
see this?
game.
Like, I spent way too much time in this game. Tucker, how long did you play it? 25 minutes.
109 hours.
Okay.
I mean, okay.
And
I spent 25 minutes on the game, and I'm exhausted.
it's called Pirates, Vikings, and Knights.
Mhm.
And it was this.
Oh, I know what
not-
game you're talking about. Yeah.
It was this really not good game that was fantastic, where it was essentially just a free-for-all or a 1v1v1 of teams of pirates, Vikings, and knights. And you would just pick your faction, and then each faction had different subclasses, and there would be different like treasure hunt activities and all this stuff. It was just the idea of it. Absolutely loved it.
All right, to wrap up our kind of topic of the week, the one thing, and I'm not going to talk about this long because I looked into it. It's not really a gaming story. How many games have you guys ever purchased from GameStop? Were you GameStop people at one point?
A
Or are you
lot.
too
And
young?
actually,
Yeah.
I got my job at Halo Follower because
of GameStop.
GameStop.
Like, GameStop was always the place to go to buy games, and they slowly changed their business model, and then like they pretty much got passed by. That stock has gone up 1,000% in the last 2 weeks.
Oh God, yeah. I have no.
And it's not a gaming story, so it's not interested. It's really just a bunch of investors doing battle. But
It's
like,
just weird because
that
GameStop just needs to die.
I refused to even look for a PS5 when I was buying mine at GameStop because I was convinced they were going out of business. I was like, I did not want to buy one there because I thought they were done, and I still think they're done. But to be brief, if I can't do this in less than 20 seconds, I'll stop. A group of people short sailed the stock, which is kind of betting on it to fail. And when you do that, you can literally lose an infinite amount of money. And so people countered that, and they inflated the stock price, and those people literally lost. They're going to lose everything.
So they're like particularly just fuck those people.
Shorting the stock is
pretty much.
it's a dick move. It's basically you're hoping that someone fails. It's why like the Bond fucking villain did it in Casino Royale. That was the biggest part why he needed money, because he shorted an airline stock and then he was going to go bomb it. And then it was thwarted. So he lost a lot of money, but you literally can lose everything. And so there's another group of investors who countered it. Anyway, GameStop somehow, like the most useless company, it just shows that this financial stuff's weird.
Yeah.
But
it might be the last little boost that GameStop's gonna get. Just like, yeah, we got a chance. We have a chance to survive, and.
All right. Anyway, at the moment, well, first of all, we are all available if you want to chat. We have a Discord channel that Tucker runs, and I occasionally pop in and say something, and no one cares.
We have almost 50 people in there so far, and I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. So it's usually, you'll get at least something going in. So if you want to check in there, there is a link in the description box. If you want to send a question or topic suggestion, I will get something a lot better if you send it to accidentallycasual@gmail.com if you want to get something directly on the show. But we're also all on Twitter. I'm at Minius GC. Tucker is at EpiTucker, and Scott is at BioWare B. But most important thing going on, and it's only important to me, is I started a tournament. It's the Mass Effect game recommendation tournament. Where I asked,
how's that going?
Well, this is, first of all, so we have 64 different games that are battling out to become the most recommended. I've done that a couple times, said recommended.
Recommended?
The correct word is recommended, and I get it right most of the time. So if you go to my specific Twitter, you can look at there'll be at least 1 or 2 polls up a day, and this will take place over the course of the next month, basically. So do you want to know the results so far for the first round?
I know the results for a few of them.
It doesn't matter if you want to know them or not. I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So group.
I know Dead Space is winning.
So Group A is made up of The Last of Us, MDK2, Uncharted, and Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Now let's just say hypothetically, for those who don't know what MDK2 is standing for.
So literally that was the 64 seed. And the only reason it got in is because it's a BioWare game. And it's not really a BioWare game because I'm pretty sure it was a sequel, right?
Yeah.
It's a sequel to a game they didn't make.
Yeah, it was an honorary title, practically.
Yeah. Unsurprising. Actually, Witcher 3 did not do as well as I expected them to do. And still got 75% of the vote.
My hope is that it secretly dies out in this so we can have a fun, interesting...
Well, one of the reasons I made the tournament, like I said, is they will face off next time against Cyberpunk 2077.
Ooh.
So they're specifically on that side of the bracket because Cyberpunk 2077 got through on the B bracket, which goes right next to them. Went up against Deliver Us the Moon, Kerbal Space Program, and No Man's Sky. So Witcher 3 is through, Last of Us is through, Cyberpunk 2077 is through, No Man's Sky is through. All those did pretty well.
Okay.
I'm a little surprised. I guess I'm not that surprised. I'm surprised Uncharted got as many votes as it did. Well, it's a great game. Would you recommend that game to a Mass Effect fan, like over the other ones specifically?
Yeah, it's not.
Do you know what I mean? It's not sci-fi. The one thing it does have, it's story based and it's very lighthearted fun, and there's some of that in Mass Effect. I don't think there's a lot of lighthearted fun in The Last of Us, and not really much in The Witcher 3. So, if that's what you're into, I mean, we talked about Mass Effect being popular for all kinds of different reasons. So there you go.
Yeah, fair. I wouldn't really say Mass Effect is a very happy-go-lucky franchise either.
No, but there are parts where the characters, I mean, like, you drop a Volus in there, it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
The entire Citadel DLC.
Yep, I was about to say that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just parts. Of course, a lot of times, like, things go really, really wrong there, but... So anyway, those three are the only other group that is complete at the time of this recording. There will be another group finished tomorrow. Like I said, there's something every day. This one was pretty close. Group C, Disco Elysium, Jade Empire, Nier Automata, and Pillars of Eternity.
Ooh, yeah.
Jade Empire was losing that one early on.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was going to get bumped out, but people came through and voted for the BioWare game Jade Empire. By the way, that is the only group. I haven't played any of those games, and they're... Actually, that's not true. I played a little bit of Pillars of Eternity. They're all on my to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
Disco Elysium is the highest up on my to-do list, but...
Yeah. Yeah, I know for a fact all the polls that I voted for, none of them, I never picked the right winner, so...
Interesting.
Yeah,
I voted
not
for
a
Dead
Single
Space.
one of them.
So
not
group A, out of The Last of Us, MDK2, Uncharted, Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, which one did you guys pick, if you picked
I think, okay, I guess I lied a little bit. I did vote for The Witcher 3 on that one.
Okay.
That's such a...
It's one of those that you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been my
God.
choice, too. I'm not allowed to vote on my own poll, which kind of hurts my feelings.
I mean, you set up your own poll, so good job hurting your own feelings there, buddy.
So exactly. So I got to start a burner account that I can go vote on my own polls.
Can it please be, I swear I'm not Minius GC.
I should probably start that. Someone else is going to get that before I start it, but...
Oh, well, sorry. My bad.
Okay, that's okay. I probably don't care enough to do that. So Tucker, what would you vote for out of those? Because you don't really like Witcher. Do you even care? Have you even played any of those games? That's a more important question.
Not really.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
2 PlayStation exclusives, and you've played the first part of The Witcher like 3 times, and that's hilarious to me.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I appreciate it for its mechanics and how all that stuff. It's just...
Well, at least you tried. I mean, you legitimately tried.
So, I lied a little bit. I did vote for Jade Empire. And so Jade Empire actually won, so
that's we'll jump right to Group C because you talked about Disco Elysium, Jade Empire, Nier Automata, and Pillars of Eternity.
There's another game that is
Tucker, I asked
wildly...
you a question. Which of those
was
4
that specifically
games?
towards me?
No, but I asked a question and you completely ignored it and changed subject, so I'm stopping you.
Oh. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'd have to guess. Like I said, I haven't played any of those, but so
I haven't played any of them either.
Disco Elysium, Jade Empire, Nier Automata, Pillars of Eternity.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played any.
Yeah.
No, I haven't started Nier Automata yet.
Okay. Well,
I did have.
It's one of those that you
downloaded.
can't actually. That is the interesting thing about this tournament is like a lot of these, like you'll see a specific group gets less votes than the other, and people will not vote for something if they haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you Scott, you said I didn't vote for any of the winners, and you voted for 2 out of the 3 winners so far.
Yeah, do you know what? No, it was no. What happened was it was exactly as you said. Like in the beginning, Jade Empire wasn't winning, so I voted for it. I saw Nier Automata had a clear lead. I'm like, well, shit, I guess wrong again. Oh well.
Let's see.
And then I guessed right. So. Okay, you know what? 2 out of 3. Do you know
So-
what? I feel a little bit better about
Okay,
myself
so
now.
There you
Thank
go. I finally found the post.
Group-
So I voted for MDK2.
Oh, you were, and even though you just did it to be a dick. I knew the person who did that did it to be a dick. I did not expect it to be you.
Did you hold on?
That
Did you-
breaks
did-
my heart.
you
You
didn't-
weren't expecting it to be me?
No, I
Yeah,
thought
I
it was
was
just
about
some
to
random guy. I didn't realize you were the one
Yes.
ruining my polls. That makes me a little disappointed.
I thought you
Should
knew
you be
better.
surprised? Should you be surprised, Minius? Should
No,
you?
well,
That's
so
what I mean.
so when I looked at it, I'm like, huh, so I wonder if it's going to get any votes because most people don't know what it is. So I think like it's someone doing it to be a dick, or B, someone who actually worked on the game and likes it.
I wasn't the only person that voted on
No,
it. though.
it got at least 7 votes.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, I think all those people were being a dick. If you voted on it and you're not a dick, correct me in the comment section. I'm actually legitimately curious.
Mhm.
Because that's just a game like I heard of it, but didn't even associate it with BioWare, and the only reason it's on here is
Yeah.
because it's a BioWare game. It's an
Yeah.
automatic birth.
I'm looking at groups D and E right now, and
Those are the active polls. That
those are the active ones.
D will end tomorrow, or the date of the posting around noon, so a couple hours after the show comes out.
Mhm.
But E will be up for a while.
Yeah, I'm not looking.
I voted Dead Space on that, but Alien Isolation is losing. And I voted Dead Space because I was expecting that Alien Isolation would be good enough.
Really, as a Mass Effect,
was hoping.
because this isn't the best game. This is
Yeah, I
the
know.
game you would most recommend to a Mass Effect fan.
Yeah, I voted Diablo 3 actually.
That's doing surprisingly well.
Really?
It has a
It's-
strong community.
Compared to the other two, it's not a sci-fi game.
Mhm, that's
I
true.
think just a lot of people haven't played Elite Dangerous. I would have assumed that slipped through.
yeah,
But like, you know, it's a different kind of game.
yeah, but it definitely. I will say the one thing: Outer Worlds has a pretty. Granted, I'm gonna bite myself in the ass by saying this, but like Outer Worlds has a pretty clear lead as of right now, at recording. So
It's only been going for a couple hours, but yeah, it looks like that. I mean, that was one of the favorites,
mhm,
basically going through. So
that's true. Yeah, and it's beating out games like Red Dead Redemption 2. So
yeah,
I think
it's
people are-
not which game's better. It's which would you recommend to a Mass Effect fan.
Yeah, I think so far people are following that pretty well.
Yeah. So we'll have to see going forward. I'm actually looking forward to some of these coming up.
Mhm.
I'm expecting GTA 6 to get announced soon.
What?
I'm expecting GTA 6 to get like officially announced soon.
I think they'll wait because they waited on 5. They'll wait as long as they can before they come out there.
Well, I think they were waiting for Cyberpunk to come out as well before.
I mean, I guess.
Talk.
I figured they'd wait till it's almost ready, and it doesn't. I don't think it's almost ready.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, yeah.
I also.
I was expecting them to wait for Cyberpunk because of how much hype and everything was built around that,
Mhm.
and how it's very much, Rockstar is looking at Cyberpunk as a competitor, sale-wise.
Mhm.
So they were waiting for that to drop to see how it goes before announcing anything. Because if Cyberpunk, I mean, spoiler alert, Cyberpunk did some things wrong. Some things that the community may not like that may be a feature in GTA 6, then Rockstar can quietly fix some of it. Or something that is really popular that Rockstar may not have thought of, then they can add that to GTA 6 or work on it without anything being announced. Everything can be changed.
Yeah.
All right, to get things back on topic before we switch off too much.
Gotcha.
There are 16 polls in the first round. There's one game that I messed up on, and I need to get this right. Tucker nominated Dark Pictures Anthology, which is a series, not a game. Do you have a specific game you want to recommend on that?
I would just then say Man of Medan.
Man of Medan. Is that
And
the? Is that the?
MDAN.
Yeah, is that the recent one?
The recent. Well, the
There's
recent
three.
one
There's
is
3
Little
out, right?
Hope 2.
Okay.
Man of Medan, which is a horror one that takes place on a boat, like a quote-unquote ghost ship. And the second one, Little Hope, is kind of like a Silent Hill-esque thing with witches, where these people are lost in a town.
Mhm.
By the way,
they're cliche horror stories, but I like them.
I think that game is going to get killed. But then again,
Probably.
it's going up against. I mean, one of them's Cloudpunk, which I don't think will have a huge thing, but the other one's Deus Ex: Human Revolution.
I mean, the point
and,
of the recommendation...
and Life is Strange. Yes, the point of this
The point of the recommendation was the branching narrative and all that kind of stuff.
Also, the point of the recommendation is you see a game that's recommended, you don't know what it is, you look it up, it looks like your thing, you play it. It's not necessarily for winning.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point of the recommendation.
The winning
there's
is
some people looking up
finding games you want to play.
Yeah. We're just trying to point people in the right direction of like, hey, if you like Mass Effect, these are probably the games you might like.
Quite honestly, a secret motivation behind me doing this is I feel like not enough people have played Horizon Zero Dawn.
But like, I got to mention Starflight, and then some people in the comments were like, I had no idea whatever that was, but I looked it up. Yeah.
All right, so keep an eye on that. We will update it every week as we go in.
Don't look up Custer's Last Stand.
Yeah, I'm not recommending that game to anyone.
Please, no one ever buy that game ever. Please, just no.
And if you're into it, I'm recommending that you go away.
Yeah, just not tolerated here. Just no.
So if you want to reach us to ask a question or topic suggestion, accidentallycasual@gmail.com or go to the Discord. I'm curious to know everyone's opinion on the potential Knights of the Old Republic. What is it called? Reimagining?
Yeah.
Is that like the official word with that?
No.
Or is that just what title
There's nothing.
called it?
Literally, there's nothing official at this point. This is a leak. It's a rumor.
I thought they announced it.
They definitely did not announce it.
Well, no. Like that KotOR, that there is another one coming out, and I thought that this was just like a leak. Yeah, more of it.
There's no announcement. It is a leak.
Okay. Oh, so okay.
Yeah, there's like literally, if you write in, you're curious. Like I'm just curious to know if people are excited. The correct answer might be I do not believe this game exists. That is a legitimate answer. You can go in there anyway.
Yeah.
Check on
something official.
Check on the Discord on Mondays, and I'll try to drop in there and start a conversation specifically to put stuff towards the show that week. So yeah, you guys ready for this week's obscure Mass Effect character of the week?
Hell yeah!
This is, and I swear when I played to this guy's name, he does not have a name. It's the Shaman of Clan Erdnot.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to spend many weeks on Tuchanka, but here's a clip right now.
Becoming the shaman is excruciating. I passed through rites that made me wish to die. I carry the scars on my soul. I must perform rites each dawn and dusk to keep me bound into our Krogan nature. Our spirit is one of violence and death. I must be attuned to that. Your job is awful. Indeed.
His job is awful. It's probably my favorite quote from Guy. He talks about his job, and then Grunt's like, your job is awful.
What is his job?
He's the shaman. He does weird shaman rituals.
Oh.
He pretty much puts people through, are you worthy of being a Krogan or not?
Yeah, but
That's
what he does
his
to
main
himself
job.
apparently is creepy.
But why is that so terrible of a job?
Well, you can listen to the quote when it's in there. I mean, Tucker, we do not hear the quote. I do not drop it in there. I don't have a switchboard. So
no, I mean, it's literally like Minius just says that he drops the video. We're all quiet for like 2 or 3 seconds.
You literally can be quiet for 1 second, and that's all it takes.
Oh yeah, and then I have no idea what
you can write in recommendations. By the way, this Tuchanka run I'm about to go on was started by a recommendation.
Yeah.
And we will get to that person's recommendation. They just sparked my imagination, and I went through there and rewatched that Tuchanka. So I'm like, all these characters are great. Every single one.
Yeah.
So I had to do it.
God, I think one of my favorite things about him is if you do the renegade option of headbutting one of the other Krogan, he fucking laughs his ass off.
Yeah,
just
basically.
Like,
I like this
fucking
human.
dope. You're fucking dope. I like you. They are more Krogan than you are. Fuck off.
This human understands. All right, so this has been episode number 24 of the Accidentally Casual Gaming Podcast, and it's weekly. We're going for Wednesdays now, but you can check in the mornings if you're in the United States, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. That's not really a morning, is it, if you're on the East Coast? It's a morning for me. It's not relevant. I'm always up. 5 at night in the UK and 4 a.m. in the East Coast of Australia. Like I said, check out our Discord. We take questions, topics, suggestions at accidentallycasual@gmail.com. We also all have YouTube channels where we do stuff.
Yep.
You can check those out. There are descriptions. There are links in the description box, not descriptions. Mostly because I'm lazy. Do you guys want to add descriptions?
Well,
You can.
there was something that I was wondering if.
Do you want to email me a description that you can put there?
Well, I was just meaning.
So there can be a description in the description box.
This would be a post. This would be a post.
Well, why don't you let me? Why
recording
don't you
to
let
talk
me?
about.
Why don't you let me finish the show first, and then we can
'Cause I realized
literally
there's a
post
thing.
record.
Okay.
Tucker, you specifically try to interrupt my outros, right?
I had an idea.
It's intentional,
Well-
right? You're like, there's no way it's not intentional.
I mean, what if I told you it wasn't intentional?
Well,
I think the
I
power of
I know you were lying, and I get extra upset because I'm trying to finish the show, and then you go like
sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. I
last
just
week's
don't keep
outro
track.
was
The
by
problem
far
is-
my favorite.
the problem is that Minius Tucker has the power of the squirrel, and the squirrel is strong with him. They're
Oh, pretty much.
He's like, I was like, this has been episode 23. He's like, so there was a movie named 23, and I was like, Tucker, that has nothing to do with anything. And he's like, but it has Jim Carrey in
with
it.
the number. and man, that movie.
But Tucker,
is
there's
both.
a show named 24. It ran for several years. This was episode
It
24.
doesn't have Jim Carrey.
also I know,
And it wasn't.
Tucker.
one of
I know
those
exactly what
so
movie
bad
you're talking
it's
about.
good
I've
movies.
seen it. I've seen it. It
And
was like,
I'll over-talk over you guys to finish the show. If you want us on Twitter, I'm at Minius GC. Tucker is at Happy Tucker. Scott is at BioWare B. We'll be back next week.
bye.
We worked as not as individuals, but as like a triangle, all holding our own corners and balancing it like an equilateral. Individually, we would fall, but like together, we are strong.
What?